I tried the meal delivery kit from Mindful Chef for a week to see if it was actually worth it. In this video, I'll be breaking down the pricing, the cooking process, and the quality and nutritional value of the meals. I was just scrolling on Instagram one day when I came across this ad for Mindful Chef. Now at this point in time, I was kind of burnt out from cooking and wasn't really motivated to be making healthy meals. So I ended up convincing myself to place an order in hopes of getting myself out of this cooking rut. Now, if you don't know what a meal delivery service is, you basically get to pick the exact meals that you want on their website, and they send you the exact ingredients that you need to make the meal, and all you have to do is cook it. So I ended up ordering 4 different meals for 2 portions each, and that came down to £33.75. And this was with a 25% discount code. So that brings us to £4.20 per meal, which is honestly not bad. But I wanted to see how it would compare to buying all of these ingredients myself. So I calculated how much it would cost if I needed to buy all these ingredients myself to make these meals. That came down to $51.94 from my local supermarket here in the UK, which is Sainsbury's. But this didn't really tell me whether it was worth it or not, because you wouldn't have to use up all of these ingredients to make just these meals. So for example, if I had to buy a jar of olives and I only needed to use a little bit of it, then now I'm left with a bunch of olives that I don't know what to do with. So I went ahead and calculated how much it would cost me if I could just buy the exact amount of ingredients that I needed to make these recipes, and that came down to $24.39. So the actual value of the ingredients itself from my local supermarket is just $24.39, but I paid $33.75 for the entire thing. So you're basically paying an extra £9.36 for the actual service itself of having the meals pre-portioned out and the ingredients delivered to your door. Now that's with the 25% discount code. If I didn't have the discount code, I would have had to pay £45 for the entire order, and that means I basically would have had to pay an additional £20.61 just for the service itself if you subtracted the value of the ingredients. Keep in mind that their prices vary according to which meal that you pick, and also it gets cheaper the more meals that you buy. So if you were to get more portions, it would cost you less per meal. 4 days after placing my order, my ingredients arrived, and the box came with a little booklet of a bunch of their recipes, including the ones that I picked. So on the first day, I made Mediterranean style beans. This was definitely my favorite recipe out of all the 4 that I tried, and I would definitely make it again. I've never used pesto with beans this way before, and it turned out to be really good. Now moving on to the second meal that I made, it was this black bean chili with quinoa and guac. It looks really, really good, and I cannot wait to eat it. That is so good. Wow. And now for the third recipe of the week, we have this lentil and butternut squash masala. And the recipe actually said it would take only 35 minutes total time to make this, but it took me over an hour, which is still not bad though. Here is my meal. It's good, but it's not like mind-blowingly good. Maybe it's just because I'm not that used to eating butternut squash, like I never make this. Also, the mint is kind of strong. I shouldn't have added that. I mean, other than that, the lentil's really good. The actual curry thingy with the kale is really good too. Hot. I feel like the more that I eat it, the more that I like it. Would I buy this again or make it again? I would probably replace the butternut squash with something else that I prefer, like potato or something. I mean, if someone cooked this for me, I would eat it. So the final recipe I made was this duck breast with mango salsa and black rice. Here's our finished product. We have the mango and cucumber salad, the black rice with red pepper, and the crispy duck breast. And then I garnished it with some red chilies and a lime wedge. I gotta say, it's probably one of the nicest looking dishes I've ever made, like ever. I mean, it just looks so good. I'm so excited to eat this one. Okay, let's try the salad.
Salad is really, really good. Super refreshing, very well balanced. Sweet, salty, crunchy, a little bit spicy, a little bit of acidity. The only thing I would change about it is the rice. This is literally my first time trying black rice. I usually just eat regular white rice, and white rice is like really soft, right? But this is really tough. Maybe I just needed to add more water. Other than that, everything else is really good. I feel like I'm a master chef right now, and just like pointing everything out that I like and don't like.
One thing that I really like about these meal delivery kits is that I get to try different recipes that I would have otherwise never tried, and it just opens you up to different ways of cooking and like different types of meals, which it's nice to have that variety. Overall, it's fairly straightforward to follow their recipe, but it did take me a much longer time to make it compared to what they said on their website. So for the black bean chili, they said it would take 15 minutes total time to make, but it took me an hour, so that's not that great. I feel like their cooking instructions are slightly more complicated to follow along to compared to HelloFresh, which is another meal delivery service that I've tried. I mean, I'm not the most amazing chef, but I've been cooking for myself almost every day for the past 4 years, so I'm not a complete beginner to cooking either. If you are a complete beginner to cooking, then I wouldn't recommend this because it's slightly complicated and it can be overwhelming. I feel like it would have taken me maybe 2 to 3 hours to make if I was completely new to cooking. So if you're new, there are way simpler recipes that you can find online that are very easy to follow along to. For one of the meals, this was actually a problem for me because for the duck breast, they only gave me one, and I feel like I was misled because if you look at this picture, I'm gonna put the picture up here, but this was the picture on their website for one portion. That's one duck breast, and they only gave me one when I put an order in for 2 portions. I don't know if this was a mistake or yeah, I only got one duck breast, so I could only have that meal once, which was pretty disappointing. But a good thing that I have to say about it is that they did give me more portions than I needed for the other recipes. So for the black bean chili and the lentil and butternut squash masala, I ended up having leftovers, which I just put in a freezer bag and froze it until I just needed a quick meal one day. These meals specifically actually froze really well, and they tasted almost just as good as when I made them fresh. Another thing I like about Mindful Chef is that they are a B Corp company, so they're upheld to really high environmental standards. They also say on their website that all of their suppliers are ethical and sustainable, which is really great. And another thing is that they donate a school meal to a child living in poverty for every meal that you buy. You know, it's good knowing that whenever you're buying from them, you're kind of helping out someone else in need. Having high ethical standards and everything is great, but in terms of their actual quality of their ingredients, in my personal experience, some of them didn't stay fresh for very long. These rocket leaves, for example, they kind of turn rotten before I even opened the package. You can see here that some of the leaves have just turned like dark and mushy, and it was just disappointing because I only got to use about half the pack. Now in hindsight, I should have put this in the fridge. The reason why I didn't was because when I received the box, it wasn't in the compartment where the ingredients had the ice packs on it, so I just assumed you didn't have to put it in the fridge. So in terms of the nutritional quality, they are really healthy and well balanced meals. You know, you've got your protein, you've got your whole grain carbs, and you've got loads and loads of fiber and healthy fats as well. So one really good thing that I love about these meal delivery services, not just Mindful Chef, but you know, just in general, is that you get to have such a variety of foods in your diet throughout the week. So we know that a varied and diverse diet can be really beneficial for your gut health. There's this really well-known study called the American Gut Microbiome Study, and it showed that participants who ate more than 30 plants per week had a much more diverse gut microbiome compared to those who ate less than 10 plants per week. So, you know, the more diverse your diet is in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts and seeds, etc., the better your gut health will be. So, you know, when I usually go shopping by myself, and if I buy a whole cucumber, I'm gonna have to eat that whole cucumber for like the next 4 days in a week. So I don't get that much of an opportunity to have like a huge variety in my diet in 1 week. But with this, since everything is pre-portioned, then you get to have such a variety of different foods in your diet. Also, all of their meals are gluten-free, which can be good if you do have a gluten intolerance. Then you don't need to be worrying about making sure that every one of your meals doesn't have gluten in it. There are also other meal kit delivery companies that do this. Like, I know that Field Doctor is one that does specific diets if you have like certain dietary requirements. So they have like a low FODMAP one, they have a low saturated fat one. Yeah, that can be good if you have specific dietary requirements. Another thing about Mindful Chef is that they don't use refined carbs in their meals. So for example, they use black rice instead of white rice, they use whole grain pasta instead of white pasta. I mean, it's not to say that you can never have refined carbs. Like, I have white rice all the time. It's just good if you want to increase your fiber intake. So what is the final verdict? Is it worth it? Is it not? I would say that it's worth it in very specific circumstances. So for example, if you're really busy and you just don't want to spend time like going grocery shopping, or it's really difficult for you to go grocery shopping, or if you're having a really hard time coming up with ideas for meals that you're gonna make. I did this when I was studying for exams at one point because it was just so much easier to have the ingredients delivered and I didn't have to think about, you know, what I was gonna make and everything. Like, that was all sorted for me and all I had to do was cook, and this was really helpful for me to take my mind off of like making sure that I'm eating well and kind of put all my mental effort into studying. It's also good if you want to try specific meals that you know, if you see something on their website and you're like, oh my god, I want to try that, like, go for it. Because in my experience, meals from these delivery kit companies like HelloFresh and Mindful Chef, they usually never turn out bad. There are even times when I go onto the HelloFresh website and I just look up recipes to have because I know like that they're always pretty good. If you've made it this far and you're really curious to try it, then I would say yes, go for it. And if you don't like it, then just cancel your subscription right away and you'll never have to get it ever again. It is definitely cheaper than if you were to get takeout every single day, but it's more expensive than if you were to just go grocery shopping at your local supermarket. Also, if you're a beginner, then it might actually take you longer to cook these meals than if you were to just follow some simple recipe online. For the average person, unless you have loads of extra money to spare or you just really hate cooking, then I definitely don't think it's worth getting every single week. For me personally, I would only get this if one, I had a discount code of like 25% at least, and two, if I was really busy but also free enough to have some time to do cooking. If you want to try it, go for it, and you can always cancel, but I don't think that it's worth getting every single week. But yeah, if you've tried any other meal delivery services, let me know what you think of them. Do you like them? Do you not? Do you think it's worth it? And thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.